Welcome. So today, we're not just going to learn how to ask a few good questions. No, we are going to learn how to architect better conversations right from the ground up. Think of this as your personal playbook for having more meaningful, more productive, and just more connected conversations. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You throw out what you think is a perfectly good question, and what do you get back? Crickets. Just that awkward, empty space where you can literally feel the energy drain out of the room. It's a horrible feeling.
And that's usually because the wrong question can act like a brick wall, especially those questions that only need a yes or no answer. They're conversational dead ends. They just shut down any chance to explore an idea, and it can make the whole thing feel less like a chat and more like an interrogation.
But here's the good news. The right question can blow the doors wide open to new possibilities. And that's the promise for this explainer. We're handing you a tactical playbook to move from just asking questions to strategically using them to build connection, uncover real insights, and guide conversations with purpose.
So let's start with the fundamentals. Every great conversation you've ever had is built on two core types of questions. Getting the difference between these two is the absolute first, most crucial step in the playbook. So here they are, the two fundamental plays. It all comes down to purpose. Over on the right, you've got your closed questions. Their job is confirmation. Think of them as tools for fact-finding. Did you send that email? They're super efficient, but they're also restrictive. Now look to the left. These are open questions. Their purpose is all about exploration. They start with words like how, what, or why, and they don't ask for a fact. They invite a story, an opinion, a real thought. They open a door.
Okay, so once you've really mastered the basics of open and closed questions, you can start to think like a conversation architect, not just someone who's participating. This is all about purposefully and honestly elegantly guiding the flow of the dialogue. And this brings us to a key tool for any architect, the probing question. Their whole job is to get to what's called incisive understanding. So imagine someone says a project is facing some headwinds. That's pretty vague, right? A probing question cuts right through that fog. Can you tell me a little more about what those headwinds look like specifically? See, it's a scalpel, not a hammer. Now, the funnel technique is how you put all these pieces together beautifully. You start really broad, right at the top of the funnel, with a big open question, like, what are your initial thoughts on the new proposal? Then you use your probing questions to start narrowing things down. You mentioned concerns about the timeline. What part of it feels the most challenging? And then finally, you home in at the very bottom with a closed question to confirm, so if we extend that deadline by 1 week, you're confident we can deliver. It's just a natural, logical flow from a wide landscape down to a single clear point. I absolutely love this metaphor. A clumsy topic change feels jarring. It's like hitting a pothole in the road. But a really well-placed question, it acts like a bridge, creating this smooth, logical connection from where you are to wherever you want to go next.
So how does this work in the real world? Well, instead of an abrupt shift like, okay, speaking of something else, you can weave in a question. So using what's called a cause and effect transition, you could ask something like, given the shipping delays we were just talking about, how does that impact our marketing launch? See what that did? It seamlessly connects the past problem to a future topic and keeps the entire conversation flowing. It's so smooth.
All right, now this is where the skill really becomes an art form. How do you dig into a problem or a difficult situation without making the other person feel like they're on trial?
The psychological impact of how you frame your question is massive. Just look at the left. Why did you make that mistake? That question is just dripping with judgment. It instantly puts someone on the defensive. Now look over to the right. What factors influence that decision? Totally neutral. It's not an accusation, it's an invitation to share the story, to explain the context, not to justify a failure. It encourages transparency, not armor.
And to build that kind of safe, non-judgmental space, there's a simple but incredibly powerful ratio to keep in your back pocket.
It's called the 2-to-1 rule, and it's built on this amazing technique called reflective listening. The idea is so simple. For every one question you ask, try to offer 1 or 2 reflections. Now, a reflection is just you restating what you heard them say or feel. Something like, so it sounds like you were feeling really frustrated by that deadline. Or, okay, so the key issue was that software bug. This proves you're listening, and it makes the other person feel deeply, truly heard, creating the psychological safety you need for a real conversation.
Okay, so now we get to the engine that drives all of this. We've talked about the what, all the techniques, but this next part is the how, the internal mindset that makes every single technique actually work. And this is just so critical. If you're just going through the motions, just using these techniques, people can feel it. Your questions will sound like a script. Genuine curiosity, that true, authentic desire to understand another person's world, that's the fuel. It transforms an interaction from an extraction of information into a shared exploration.
And you know what? Your body has to show that you're curious too. That means turning away from your screen and actually facing the person. It means making eye contact that connects instead of intimidates. It's that warm, inviting tone in your voice. It's even the simple nod that just says, "I'm with you, keep going." These nonverbal signals are the physical proof of your presence. Here's a fantastic little cognitive trick to anchor your listening. When someone is talking, listen for their specific keywords. So if they say a project feels fragmented, use that exact word in your follow-up question. When you say it feels fragmented, what does that look like? This proves you're not just hearing the general idea, you are truly listening to the precise words they choose to use. It's so powerful.
And finally, how you end a conversation matters just as much as how you start it. Instead of just letting things fizzle out, you can architect a really constructive close. You start by asking an appreciative question, something that focuses on a strength or a success. Then you pivot to the future. What's a clear next step or a key takeaway? And then you end with specific gratitude. Not just a generic thanks, but thank you. Hearing you walk through that timeline pressure really changed my perspective on this.
You see, ultimately, what this all comes down to is connection. This isn't about winning an argument or trying to be the smartest person in the room. Every technique, every mindset shift is all in service of one single goal: to use your questions to build stronger, more meaningful relationships with the people you're talking to.
So I'll leave you with a final question. Think about your week ahead. All your meetings, your one-on-ones, your chats with family. What's the one conversation that could be completely transformed if you just asked a better question? Go architect it.